Hi everyone, I'm back. At least, sort of back. Yeah, by me, it feels like forever since I did a podcast. Feels like forever since I did any video content. The last one I did was the Neon Hope one, and I technically recorded and edited that, before it was aired, a few days before it was aired. So I haven't done any recording in that since 2 weeks ago Saturday, 2 weeks ago Friday, maybe. So quite a fair amount of time. But yes, I have, in a sense, returned. Yes, for those of you who have not been aware, 2 weeks ago Sunday, 3rd of August or something like that, I can't remember, 2nd or 3rd of August, I was taken violently ill to the point where I needed surgery. The problem was I started the day with basically what felt just like a dicky stomach. And it just felt like pretty normal. No nausea, no fever, no headache, just a bit of a dicky stomach. So I thought, okay, maybe it was just what I'd eaten the last couple of days. And for the most part of the morning, that was fine. I just basically rested and tried not to eat anything crazy. And then by the point it got to the early afternoon, the other symptoms hadn't changed, but the stomach pain turned to chronic, ow, something is crushing the central part of my chest. So think where your navel is, your belly button and navel, and maybe go about a hand's width above that. That was where the pain was centralized, and it was just like somebody was reaching in and grabbing it, something, and crushing it. It really did feel like okay, this is not normal, because about 8 months ago I went into hospital with a gastritis problem, and that was where I felt like a zombie. I had nausea, fever, could not think, was like nearly fainting. That was pretty nasty. But that one just involved me basically being put on a drip, being put in the waiting room for a bit, and then eventually going home. So that was a separate issue. This one felt different though, because I didn't have the other zombified fever like symptoms, so I was a little bit concerned. Went into I called 111, our sort of general number. They told me to go to St. Mary's in Portsmouth for a checkup. The annoying thing is, I live alone. And I stupidly made the decision that I would not call upon friends who lived in Portsmouth and God knows what else to get them to drive me anywhere. I just, for some reason, felt like I had to do this by myself. I don't like to worry or inconvenience other people, so I tended to try and just get things done on my own. And so they weren't fans of me doing that. But basically I drove myself with this pain all the way down to St. Mary's, which takes a good 15 minutes from my place, and that's at decent speed. So thankfully it was a Sunday, so the traffic was pretty light. I went there, waited for ages because the NHS is sadly underfunded, and eventually got to see somebody who concluded that I ideally should have been sent to the QA hospital in Cosham, which is in between me and St. Mary's. So basically I went there for nothing. But by the time I left there, I realized I was going to have to drive another 15 to 20 minutes to get to the QA and park up in that. And also that the nausea was starting to set in, like something was progressing badly. So I drove to the QA with the nausea, got out of the car, parked up, immediately was sick. Like I could not hold it in. I literally had, look, I'm gonna park in the middle of the road and be sick because I cannot hold this in. So that was not a good sign. Then went into that waiting room, which had like 2.5 to 3 hour waiting time showing up on the board. But I think I was a little bit ahead of the schedule on that one because they referred me from the other clinic, and so it kind of boosted me up the queue. But I was still like 6 or 7 in the queue, and if you've ever been to a waiting room in a hospital, it takes forever, even in A&E, to be seen. I mean, it's supposed to be emergency, but there's no real emergency when you're stuck in there. And so I was basically in there, and every now and again, every, say, hour or two, I'd be called for another test or conversation or get my blood pressures checked, and stuff like that. And one time I was put onto a bed with a morphine drip, which felt nice. I had the oral version of the morphine, which did nothing, but I was eventually put on the morphine drip for the pain, and man, I mean, it didn't quell the pain entirely, but it certainly got me to a point where I could take a dose. Then I ended up getting asked if I could go back into the waiting room so that they could have the bed. I wasn't too keen, but let's be nice, let's be courteous to other people. Did it anyway. They forgot to give me any more painkillers, so I was still in pain there. And this carried on basically from about, say, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon all the way till about 3 o'clock in the morning. before my parents could arrive. My parents, I had to basically call them and say, look, on midnight, look, I'm in problem here. And I was hoping that they would just come by in the morning. But my parents, being the awesome people that they are, decided to drive at midnight, 3 hours across the bottom of the country to come see me in A&E. So I was like, yeah, thanks to them. And basically this pain was constant. So I'd have to go and be sick every now and again. And when you have nothing in your system and you are trying to make yourself sick to get rid of the pain, it is about as unpleasant as it can get. You have nothing to give. All you have is that gut-wrenching feeling that you're ripping yourself apart from the inside. And also the gut pain. So it was just bad. I really was not having a good time. I just wanted it to end one way or the other. And eventually, I think about 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that, it was definitely early morning hours, after more hours of waiting, at one point I got taken for a CT scan. So I had a full CT scan, came back, more waiting, and then eventually 4 people in orange took me to another room with my parents and told me I had acute appendicitis. Yeah, we did sort of get to the point that it might have been something like that, but, the pain wasn't in the right area. But apparently, appendicitis pain can refer itself somewhere else in your body. So it manifests somewhere, and then eventually you notice it progress. And I got to admit, I did notice the pain sort of head further south, below my navel rather than above it as the time was going on. So it's like, okay, I see where you're getting from with this medical stuff. But they basically gave me a choice. Antibiotics, it would curb it now, but I would have to repeat this eventually in that, or have surgery to laparoscopic appendectomy or whatever, but basically keyhole surgery to have the appendix out. And honestly, if there was a butcher's knife on the table, I would have taken that butcher's knife and gone to town on myself, because I was in too much pain to care about the risks of surgery. And there weren't that many risks. It's a pretty it's a standard low risk surgery, but surgery always has its risks. But I'm like, look, dude, you can cut out what the hell you like to stop this pain. It was just constant. There was no way it was subsiding. Thankfully, we'd got it early, so there was no burst appendix or anything. It was just inflamed. And then within the next 2 hours, I was carted off, surgical ward, and then put under general anesthetic. Very nice people. And had the surgery done. And I love the fact with general anesthetic that you're in the surgery, you're slightly worried, they talk you down, ask really weird questions like, are you hungry? It's like, wait a minute, that's not on your checklist, you've just made that up. And then you sort of like, you breathe in for a bit, just talking. And then the next thing you realize is that you're in a different room, different time, and you don't realize time's passed. I love anesthetic. It's such a cool thing to make surgery just go by with a breeze. But yeah, and then stayed in hospital overnight and went home the next day, discharged in the morning. So so basically I had the surgery effectively Monday morning, about like 7, 8 o'clock or something in the morning. And then stayed in hospital for the day, overnight, and discharged on Tuesday morning. Sorry, we had a bit of a Wi-Fi cut out there. So I was signed off from 2 weeks from from employment, signed off for 2 weeks from driving, although I did do a little drive yesterday and I was okay, subject to certain conditions. So yeah, I think I can drive now, short distances, enough to get to work, hopefully. Yes, I have to go back on Monday. And I've spent the last 2 weeks at home. The parents stayed behind for 2 to 3 days just to keep me company, get me through the worst of the recovery, and do my shopping, do my chores, just get everything up to date so I didn't have to worry about anything. And then when they eventually went home, I've been alone since then. Mates visited on one day. I mean, some mates are visiting me later in the month, but they've checked up now and again. Some haven't, but, it seems a little bit harsh. But yeah, generally, some mates have visited, and yesterday I went to a housewarming party, so I was able to get out of the house then. But for the most part, I've just been in the house. Can't do the gym, not even allowed to do the gym for 4 weeks, and I'm going to take a prudent measure and not do it for 6 weeks, because I go quite extensive at the gym, so I don't think I can do minimum recovery time before I start doing weights again. I'm going to have to suck it up, and honestly, that's the biggest hit to the mental health side of things. People think, oh, are you going to be bored at home? And it's like, not bored, just unproductive. I mean, what have I done? Just binge watched a ton of anime and TV I had to catch up on. Played a bunch of PC games that I've been wanting to try out. And played some PC games that I was already doing. And honestly, I haven't even done that much in terms of board gaming. I played some solo games a few days ago, and maybe the odd dotted one every now and again. But honestly, I've kind of restricted myself mainly to just PC games and TV. And obviously, I go for a walk each day. I try to get as much mobility as I can. And originally, I could only really do about a quarter of an hour and at slow pace. And now it's at the point where I can easily do 30 minutes at a brisk walk. So, you know, the mobility has returned to a decent degree. But I still shouldn't be doing any heavy lifting, which is a problem with this tablet table thing that I've got the laptop on. You know, that's quite heavy. So probably went against doctor's orders to carry this onto the table, but I wanted to do something today, podcast-wise, so I figured I'd just do it anyway. And I seem to have got through that fine anyway. But yes, so just a bunch of PC gaming and TV. But that's got to come to an end, but still can't go to the gym. And that is a third of my life. I mean, the gym is my primary form of stress relief. It is also the primary way I keep my weight in check. So for a month and a half, I'm basically having to, with next to no exercise, try and eat somewhat healthy just so that I don't put on 10 stone by the time I finish this. And I mean, the housewarming was not a good example of eating healthy, but I've tried to eat reasonably healthy the last 2 weeks. You know, a treat every now and again, but even the first couple of days, you know, parents left me with quite a few treats, so I'll definitely end up putting on some weight. I can only hope that by the time I am allowed to go back to the gym, certainly before Essen, I'm going to have to go hardcore on a diet and really get to the gym back proper. But yeah, I mean, all the hard work over the last few months kind of undone just by a bit of surgery. Not keen, but well, sucks. But yeah, so I just wanted to say really that I'm not fully healed yet. You know, I've still got the wound. I mean, the main incision down there is still healing, and that's going to take a bit of time. And there's still internal muscle that has to heal and that. So it's still a healing process. It's only been 2 weeks. But I have got a decent amount of mobility back. I mean, I can't bend down and touch my toes, and I have to kneel down in order to pick anything up off the floor. And I have to do things carefully to get in and out of bed, especially in the morning when your muscles have gone stiff. But I can get up and sit down. I can do a light drive if I sit in a certain way. I can walk brisk for a decent period, and I am feeling a lot better than I was 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was pretty rough for the first few days of recovery. It's getting better every day, and certainly compared to how I felt in A&E, I think any pain I feel is an absolute breeze, frankly. Hopefully not too much noise from outside, but I kept the curtains closed so the light doesn't come in, but the windows open because I'm already sweating in this top. It's still hot and humid, but I can't shut everything. I got to have some air, otherwise I'm going to die. Not literally, but you know what I mean. And so, yeah, so I am kind of sort of back in the game. I'm not in a position where I can do like 3 videos a week and go mental, but I can start maybe doing some content every now and again, maybe get out a video a week or something, you know, and just take things easy. And obviously that will build back up as we get into September and October, and more videos can come out then. So we'll see how I get on, you know, but suffice to say, you know, I took 2 weeks off all types of recording. Neon's Hope was recorded on the Thursday, Friday and edited, and then I was about to release it on the weekend, and then I became sick. So that one was already pre-recorded. So for about 2.5 weeks, I have not done any recording on this channel. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But to be honest, there's not a lot of games to review. It's not like I've had a lot to do, so it's not really that massive a deal. If this happened around Essen time, it would have been maddening. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of you on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, who's basically given me, you know, encouragement, sent me nice comments. You know, I've tried to keep people sort of up to date as to how the recovery's going, what I'm doing, and obviously I let everybody know that I'd gone into surgery and that. But on GridCon Slack, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, every social media channel that I've been posting stuff on, those of you who have sent me messages to wish me well, check up on me, you know, wish me a speedy recovery, thank you. That made a big difference. Okay, it's nice to know that there's a bunch, you know, for as much as I deal with the occasional trolls and stuff, and still had to deal with a couple as I was recovering, but on older videos, but still, yeah, it just kept me going. It was a really good morale boost, so thanks for that. It's good to know that there's a lot of nice fans out there who wish me well. But yeah, this podcast, I mean, like I say, it's been chatting mostly about the recovery and that. I mean, what have I done over the last 2 weeks? As I said, mostly TV and PC. So I caught up on a lot of anime. So the second season of Trigun, the second season of Frieren, second season of Batman Cape Crusader, second season of X-Men 97. I mean, yeah, quite a lot of series required watching and catching up on. There might have even been another anime on top of that, but I can't recall. But yeah, suffice to say, a decent amount of TV. Oh yeah, and obviously Star Trek Strange New Worlds every Thursday, and Futurama is issuing new episodes. So, been watching a lot of TV. So I'm finally caught up on all that. And PC-wise, I mean, I played a lot of Stellaris, played a little bit of Deep Rock Galactic, some other like games now and again. But I also finally played Hollow Knight. Yeah, finally played Hollow Knight. So I played through the whole of Hollow Knight. I did a full review on my Facebook profile and page. And I enjoyed it overall, but I had some reservations over some of the backtracking and the lack of plot and stuff. And the deep nest biome with the spiders can go to hell. Yeah, and I know it's a game about bugs. I didn't do my research on that ahead of time, okay? I didn't realize the whole game was going to be about bugs. But, bugs are fine. I can deal with bugs. I mean, there was a biome level that was devoted to bees, and that was really funny. Having these bees that sort of like, make a weird noise and then turn into little drills or whatever to try and sting you or something. I thought that was just funny. And you've got like the bigger bees that like bounce around everywhere, destroying ledges and stuff. I mean, the bees biome was funny. But there's a deep nest biome, which is all dark. All you hear is the scuttling of creatures in your ears with the sound. You've got loads of like centipedes and worms and little beetles and that going around. It's very much creepy crawlies underground type thing. So that's already unsettling. And then you get further in and you start seeing webs. And then you get spiders. Wi-Fi keeps cutting out like crazy. Let me go back. Yeah, so, in the deep nest biome, after you've got all these creepy crawlies, you've got the spider areas in webs. You've got these creatures that basically sort of, they fade in, they screech, and then you see the shadow of a spider just going like this, and then the creature appears, which is still a bit unsettling, but the creature is actually not as terrifying as the shadow of the spider. But then to make it worse, and I cannot believe somebody who designed this game didn't think that this was a bad idea, you have, on all the levels, creepy crawlies crawling over the screen. There's shadows. They crawl over the screens as if they're on the camera, right? When that is earwigs and worms and stuff like that, that's already unsettling. When it's spiders at high speed, that is ridiculous. I mean, that was the whole biome was nightmare fuel. I had multiple heart attacks. I was sweating, dread sweat, playing the entire level. I did what I could in that level, and I got the hell out of there. I did what was mandatory, and no more. None of the optional stuff. Screw it. And I cannot believe the designers of the game didn't think that maybe, well, yes, we're creating a game about bugs, but maybe we don't focus that hard on the biggest phobia in the world. And I'm sick and tired of game developers just basically putting spiders in every game. Baldur's Gate did it, Enshrouded did it. I mean, Deep Rock Galactic is a game about shooting space bugs, and yet even that one does not have proper looking spiders in it. Yes, it has crawling bugs and stuff, but they look alien. They don't look like a normal spider. Right? The closest thing to it is probably the screeching dragonfly thing or whatever that comes out and grabs you. That can be a little bit disconcerting, but that's the only thing. The basic bugs don't look like normal spiders. They were intelligent enough when they designed the game. But all these other games are just like, yeah, let's put the most terrifying eight-legged creature we can find, stick it on the screen and make arachnophobics cry out in terror. Thanks. And for that reason, I'm not playing Silksong. Screw it. I'm sorry. I don't care if Silksong's a great game. I've heard that's got multiple spider bosses and other spider enemies. I'm done. I am done playing your stupid game if you can't be asked to show a little bit of imagination. So, yeah, forget that. But other than that, Hollow Knight was still fun, and I'm glad I played it. But I'm sorry, it pales in comparison to Ori. The Ori games, Ori and the Will of the Wisps and the Blinded Tree or whatever it's called, I forget what the first one was called. Those two games are just the benchmark in the Metroidvania style platforming games. If you've not played those two games, you must. And Hollow Knight doesn't come anywhere close to their caliber. It's still fun. I gave it a 7 out of 10. The Deep Nest biome thing is a personal gripe. But yeah, compared to the Ori games, no, they're like 10 out of 10s. Anyway, but yeah, so played a few PC games, played some stuff, played some Imperium. Finally had to relearn the rules to that, but played a few games of Imperium. Some For Northwood, a little bit of Cascadia, a little bit of that. So, I've tried to keep myself busy, because I didn't want to be entirely, shall we say, well, I wouldn't get bored. I don't get bored when I'm at home. I've got plenty enough stuff I can do, but it just feels unproductive, Just doing nothing but sitting on your PC all day and vegetating on the sofa. I mean, yes, needs must when you're recovering, but it doesn't feel very satisfying, does it? When you feel like, where did the last 2 weeks go? oh, just vegetating on the sofa. It just doesn't feel right. I mean, yes, I don't want to go back to work, because work is work. I would much rather just spend my time playing PC games and stuff than working. But on the other side of the coin, at least it's productive. At least it's doing something else, So it feels more meaningful. So it's just that weird catch-22. But yeah, so obviously not a lot to, 20 minutes of me talking about my recovery period. But yeah, I'm sort of back. I'm going to get back into the swing of things. I mean, I do have some stuff to look at. I mean, Dale of Merchants, a publisher, has very nicely sent me prototypes for their upcoming sort of reprint. They're reprinting like the big box, they're reprinting the sets, adding new animals, adding a new solo mode and stuff. And so I've been playing a prototype of that, so I will be doing a preview video for that. As I said, I'm very picky with my preview videos. I mean, it's Dale of Merchants. I love the game. It's not one I'm going to hate. So I like to do Kickstarter preview videos for reprints and re-implementations because I already know the game is good. Therefore, the fact that previews are effectively just a paid advert doesn't hinder me. It doesn't go against my normal integrity because I'm not lying about, it's not like, oh, Dale of Merchants was a fantastic game, but this reprint sucks and all the rules are changed and the game now sucks. It's like, no, it's not going to be like that. So it's better than, say, for example, loads of people are doing Whisperwood at the moment, the new big one from Cardboard Academy. I did a brief demo at the expo. I thought it's got potential, but they've not asked me to do a preview video for it. And honestly, I wouldn't do a preview video for it because, again, paid advert. Everybody is out there saying, this is cool, you should go back it. I mean, it could be cool. It could be a great game. But I'm not going to come out there and give you just an advert that says, go buy this game. I'm going to give you an honest opinion. And until they have fully developed it, which is not going to take, it's going to be at least another year and a half before anybody sees the game, I'm not going to be, putting out videos like that, for just random games that I have no other connection to. Stuff like Don't Starve, for example, I have a connection to the video game, so therefore there was more of an incentive. And I do a few things for Awakened Realms every now and again, although we'll see how many more of those I do. But there is other stuff to come. If I grab this pile here, I just ordered myself some treats. So I'm not going to report on this, but I've got the Cities expansion, which is basically just more achievement boards and features. So that's just something to make that game a little bit different. I'm interested to see what the new components for the Gang Deluxe Edition look like. So this is quite a weighty box. These chips are going to weigh a ton. But I will do you a standalone review, I guess. Yeah, we'll make this the first normal review I do for Forest Shuffle Smoky Mountain. Yeah, I've bought it. Look at that lovely otter on the cover. Look at him, he's so cute and adorable. Look at him. But yeah, so I'm going to be looking at this one, see how it compares. I mean, I saw some reviews. I saw someone on the Dice Tower gave it a 10 out of 10. That seems a little bit harsh. I mean, harsh, a little bit high. I mean, the Forest Shuffle's a great game. It's improved since the first time I reviewed it. First time I reviewed it, I gave it a 6. It's now probably an 8 out of 10 for me. I think it has improved, but you need expansions. You need the Dartmoor set, for example, and even then, 10 out of 10. The flaws with Forest Shuffle have not been fixed since its inception. You don't want to play this with more than 3 players. The scoring still takes an absolute age to do if you don't use the app, and even then the app is not foolproof. So, there are big issues with the game that stop it really being a 10, but I don't know, Dice Tower and that, but I will certainly take a look at this and I'll give you a quickie review on that one. Shouldn't take too long to do that one because let's face it, it's Forest Shuffle. We already know 90% of it. It's just a case of what's changed. So we'll just do a normal review for that one. But that could be the first main one I do. Dale of Merchants will be the first preview. I need to do that before the end of August. And if I get time, maybe a top 10. I did say I was going to look at maybe doing a top 10 underrated games to balance the top 10 overrated I did. Come back with a positive note. So, yeah, could be quite cool. Oh, I keep the drink up. I've had to drink a lot while I've been on recovery. I mean, cool blimey, it's been hot as hell with another heat wave, and I've got to drink for healing down there. So I'm practically drinking 3 times my normal daily amount just to stay hydrated. It's kind of insane. But yeah, in terms of the channel, the last 2 ones, what were they? Bunny Kingdom Town and Neon Hope. Neon Hope's getting a lot more views than I thought it would, so I'm kind of curious about that one. But yeah, Neon Hope's an interesting one. A cyberpunk Arkham Horror LCG. It's got some flaws, mostly to do with the rule book, and I think its pricing model was a bit extreme. Components are not great unless you buy the deluxe version, which again is insanely costly. But I had to give credit that it did do a pretty decent narrative with branching paths. It was an interesting game mechanically, does some things that I think are actually better than the Arkham Horror LCG in some respects. So I think it's a solid foundation, and they can basically work at doing a 1.5, a 2.0 of it, and really making this solid. So, by all means, check out that review. But of course, yeah, not a lot else on the channel. So, by all means, thanks for keeping up. Subscribers 28018. We're past the 28,000 mark, so onwards and upwards to the 30,000 benchmark. But yep, thank you for everybody who has been watching. Thanks for everybody who has been subscribing to the Patreon. I mean, the Patreon is literally keeping the channel afloat. It keeps up with the fees and the subscriptions, and enables me to get to conventions like Essen and that in order to get copies to review for you guys and put out content. And as conventions are getting more expensive to go to, particularly the Expo and Essen, I've just had to book some hotels and Eurotunnel travel and all that stuff for Essen this year. And oh my god, the amount of money it sucks up, it's ridiculous. If I wasn't doing this as a channel, I would not be going to Essen every year. It just wouldn't be cost effective. But it's because of the support of you people that I can. So, I try to do as much content for you as a result. So, thank you very much. Conventions wise, there's quite a lot coming up actually, because obviously I had to cancel going to HandyCon last week. Last weekend? No, it's this weekend. Yeah, it's literally on at the moment. Yeah, the HandyCon that's at the final one for its current venue, I had to cancel, obviously. There's no more conventions for August, and I don't believe there's any conventions in September, so we'll be taking a break while I recover more physically. But the idea is that I'm hoping I can be well enough to go on a little city break at the end of September. I'm thinking Vienna for its zoo. But I've also been told about a place called Pyridizer or something like that. I forget its name, but it's in Brussels or Bruges. And apparently it's this really massive zoo with enclosures that you can even stay in the hotel rooms next to. Like, I could literally be on eye level with otters in one of the rooms. I'm like, how the hell have I not heard of this place before? So I'm definitely going to look that one up in case that's a good one. But yeah, I want to do a city break at the end of September. That'll be what? A month and a half, nearly 2 months recovery, which, given I'm supposed to be allowed to do the gym after 4 weeks, I do think that's a little bit touch and go. 4 weeks to do gym work? I don't think so. I've frozen my membership so that I can carry on to the 27th of September and not do any gym. So I think what I am going to do is I'm going to try and do no gym for minimum 6 weeks. Possibly 8. We'll see. It's going to kill me to do it because I am worried about losing weight and getting health back. But I think we're going to ignore the 4-week warning. We're going to do minimum 6, possibly 8. We'll see how I feel during September. But October there's a lot of conventions. So we already have trying to think. What have we got? We have Shape Battle and Roll. I believe that's early October. Southampton, I'll be there. We have Essen, obviously. I will be there. I'll probably be shortening my trip this time though. So I normally come on the Tuesday and leave on the Monday. I'm going to shorten it because the Eurotunnel is stupidly expensive, and if you stay more than 5 days, the price practically goes up by like 40% or something. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to come up on the Wednesday, which may mean I'll be skipping the press preview. But honestly, I do find that the press preview just kind of isn't necessary. You can't get any review copies there because they've practically banned this. So it's literally just seeing a few people, seeing a bunch of games that are on offer, and then that's it. And then for the rest of Wednesday, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm kind of like, do I really need to be at the press preview? It just doesn't seem worth the cost to get there a day early just to go to that one for a couple of hours. I don't think it's worth it. So I'm probably going to turn up on the Wednesday, see people in the evening, get a good night's sleep, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I'm going to go home on Sunday. I know some people like to do the whole convention on Sunday and rest up on the Monday, but I don't want to take too many days holiday. I've only got so much holiday this year, and there's GridCon and things coming up, and I just don't feel the need to take up too much time for the convention. So, and by the time I get to Sunday, I'm kind of done anyway. I'm exhausted. I need to get home and that. So I will stay till about Sunday, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock-ish or something. The convention's only open till about 6 o'clock, I think, that day anyway, 5 or 6 o'clock. So what am I really missing? And I'll head home then. So yeah, I'm still going to be at Essen. HandyCon, the new venue at the Staverton or whatever it's called, or Daventry Golf Club. It's around North Hampshire way. I'll be there for the first one of that. So I've already booked accommodation and my ticket, so I'm going to be there. And then GridCon in November, I'll be there as well. Is there any other convention I can think of? None that I can think of. I think we're talking Shake, Battle and Roll, Essen, HandyCon, GridCon. So quite a few conventions coming up in the space of a month and a half. But I look forward to seeing you at all of those. So especially at Essen, if you see me and want to wish me well, by the time I go to Essen, I should be fully healed. Like, I should be internally fully healed as well. I'm hoping. We'll see. But maybe give will take a week or two. But I'm supposed to be fully healed after 8 to 12 weeks. So we'll see. But yeah, if you want to see me, wish me well and say hi and that, shake my hand and stuff, then by all means, stop me at Essen when you see me, because I'll be more than glad to catch up with some of you. But yeah, that's what's on the horizon. So yeah, a lot of this episode has basically just been talking about me and what I've been doing. So sorry it's not been particularly board game related, but not a lot's really happened in the board game industry lately. I tried looking up topics for discussion, and honestly, not a lot has really been going on. I mean, the only major thing that really happened was Gen Con happened, and the whole typhoon or the tornado problem that they had in the leaking roof. I mean, that was interesting to follow. I mean, hopefully people still enjoyed their Gen Con despite that, but I mean, there's multiple reasons I don't really want to go to Gen Con. The weather is one of them, but I'd rather go to something like PAX Unplugged or something if I was going to an American con. But yeah, so I mean, hopefully you still enjoyed Gen Con. So despite that happening, what shall I do next? Well, we can talk about a game. Come on, let's talk about a game. I know you are here to listen to me talk about board games. So we're going to talk about a game, and as much as I said I was thinking of doing an underrated games list at some point, let's go back to form and talk about a game that I think is terrible, and that's going to be Tiny Epic Quest. I played this yesterday. This was at the housewarming party that I had, right? A friend of mine bought it, taught it, half from the rule book. He didn't remember all the rules, so we were kind of learning it as well. But I'm not a big fan of the Tiny Epic games. They have, at best, they have been meh and forgettable. At worst, they've been boring and dull. And yes, get off my case, I don't like Tiny Epic Galaxies. I think it is boring and dull as ditch water. Yay, I have some planets with tracks on. I level cubes up them. Yay. It's like, come on, it's so boring. But Tiny Epic Quest, I'd heard people talk good things about. People are saying, oh yeah, Tiny Epic Quest is not bad. It's like playing The Legend of Zelda in a little game or something. God knows how long it took my mate up to set the game up. I thought, okay, I know this is a Tiny Epic game, but Jesus Christ, I know they pack a lot into the box, but this just seems extensive for what it is. But we played it, 30 to 60 minutes. Yeah, in your freaking life it's 30 to 60 minutes. It definitely was easily a 60 to 90. It took forever to get that game finished. Granted, we had to mess around with the rules in a bit, so there was an element of that. But the idea with this one is basically you have this massive sprawling sort of map, which is basically just repeated spaces ad nauseum. There's not a lot of variety in this game. But it's basically got two spaces each, and they've got different ways to travel. So road and water and that. You basically take it in turns to select a travel card. It tells you how you can travel and move your meeples, and if you want to borrow somebody else's travel, you can after they've done it. But you're basically trying to go to portals to beat up goblins, temples to do little runs for magic items, and quests maybe, and also going to spell obelisks to learn spells. And the idea is that you've got 3 ways to score points: do quests, gain magic power, and kill goblins. In fact, they've got a the chart looks a bit different here than it did in the version we had. Goblins was on the right and worth less points or something. I don't know. But the weird thing is that these totals, they go from 0 to 10. Jesus Christ, there's only 5 rounds in this game. How the hell are you supposed to get any of these down to level 10 is beyond me. It's like ridiculous. You try beating up 10 goblins in this game. It's damn near impossible. But yeah, I digress. And you've got like a power heart track, and you've got 3 items that you can unlock by going in the temples, and they will give you some ability and some victory points. I think this might be like a prototype for some of these artworks and that, but yeah, there's definitely some prototypey stuff. Let's try and find a more bigger version of the game in action. Well, that's the nighttime side, but yeah, the idea with this is more akin to, like I say, playing a little mini Zelda game. So you go around, you do these little adventures, and you rack up victory points, and in 5 rounds you see where you are by the end. This is not a fun game. I was bored. It's dull. I mean, there is no skill in this game whatsoever. You basically, right, waste time doing you do the movement thing, and then you do an adventuring phase, a nighttime phase. And basically, if you're still in the adventuring phase, you flip your card over, etc. And if you rest, you're out of it. It's a dice rolling mechanic, mostly a push a luck dice and rolling mechanic. So when it's your turn, you roll dice. You may get goblin faces, which just hit you by luck. And the idea is that when you roll these symbols, you take the first one, the player after you takes the next, so they might get hit just because you rolled weird. Well, that's fun. And then you've got scrolls and torches and goblin fists in order to either punch goblins or move through temples, because the temples require you to get scrolls and maps. And when you get to the end, if you rest, you can do that. With the spells, there's a separate mushroom conjure track where when you level that up, it tells you how high a spell level you can learn from where you currently are. And if you're in the right obelisk, you rest and you can learn the spell. And that can get you more victory points. You don't get a cool spell or anything. It's just a track. Yay, tracks. But this is basically all the game is. You go to places and hope that you'll get the dice results that mean that you can do what you need to do there. That's it. Getting from place to place is not difficult. In the space of 4 people moving, you should be able to get your meeples to where they need to go. So the movement doesn't really feel that interesting or tactical. The actual leveling up of your temple tracks and spells is again boring. It's just dice. You roll dice and see what you get, and hope you get the symbols you want. If you don't by the time the round's finished, well, then sucks to be you. But you can keep going and going and going until you pull out. So most of the time, you will eventually get the stuff you need. It's just a case of how long it takes. There's no real sense of urgency. There's no real sense of, like, peril. At no point, other than when the magic track is at the very top, when goblins start leveling up and hurting you a lot more, only at that point does it feel like, oh, you could actually die. But it's really hard for the mushroom track to get that high. So most of the time, there's no fret. And if there's no fret, then what do I care, about any of the heart and power stuff? And so it's all these temple tracks are just move along the track, get a card. And then this one, stay at the place, rest, move up a track. It's all just tracks. It's boring. And I don't feel like I'm going on an adventure or doing a little Zelda game. I mean, even when I tried to inject some theme into this game, I couldn't do it. It was just so boring. I mean, just because you got these cutesy little things on a rack that you can clip onto your meeples, which are fiddly as hell. I mean, this is Tiny Epic, which tiny means it's going to be a fiddly as hell thing to do. I mean, these things, it's like the Will Smith thing. It's like, Phil, I'm going to break this damn thing. It's everything in this game feels like you're going to break it the second you touch it. But it just dragged on and on. I was bored. I was waiting for turns, downtime and that. And everything about this thing just failed. I mean, I don't get why. I mean, I could maybe see that in a 2-player setting, this could be fun for a cheap 45-minute affair. Like you and your missus, and you're not that into games. You could play this with your non-gaming spouse for 45 minutes as a 2-player and maybe get a chuckle out of it. But as a 4-player game, this was a waste of time. And honestly, I just don't think the Tiny Epic games are good games, period. This is definitely one of the worst ones I've played. Other ones like Tiny Epic, was it Monsters and Tiny Epic Defenders or something? Those ones are just meh. But Galaxies was way overrated and hyped. I just found that one really boring. And this one I just found really boring as well. Whoopee, you've got these cute little plasticky weapons or something. Yeah, you made it look cute. It doesn't mean that the game is any good. And it takes up way too much space for what is a tiny box. Yes, granted, they packed a lot of game into this box, but there's not actually much game there. It's just roll dice and hope. And on top of that, one thing that's really stupid is the quests. They are a fundamental way of getting points, right? Some of those quests require you to put in a bit of effort. You got to go through a specific temple or something like that. Most of the quests, though, are just like position your meeples in certain ways on the map. That's it. Put all your 3 meeples in a straight line. Put them all in diagonals, whatever. Put them all on the coast. That's your quest. Oh, epic. But the thing is, they come out and then they're ready for the next player. So what happens constantly is somebody does something. There's nothing to do quest-wise. They carry on with their turn. They roll some dice. Oh, I rolled badly. And the quest gets done. I've got to the end of this temple. A quest comes out and it's, oh, I have all 3 of your people on the coast. And somebody goes, oh, I've got that already. Already. Or it's like, oh, I've only got to move 1 meeple. Next player after you goes, okay, I'll move my guy to there. I've got a quest. Great. Constantly this happens. Quests just randomly come out of the deck, and by luck, somebody gets them. And this is one of the critical ways of getting VP. I lost by a point, and I'm pretty sure that was only because of the fluky quest the other guy got. Because I never had any of those turn up for me. Whereas that guy had at least 2, if not 3 of them turn up. And, you know, it's just a random luck fest. That's all this game is. A random luck fest with no skill involved, no meaningful decision making or anything. You're just going through the motions and see what happens. There's no real theme. There's no real sense of adventure. The game is just a tiny epic disappointment, and I don't get why this was getting any love. And honestly, I just don't get why the tiny epic games have any love to begin with. I just think they are mediocre at best. They are trying to make these kind of games, you know, you're trying to do this gimmick of let's put them all in a small box and let's make them feel epic or something. And in all the cases, all you do is just make a lesser game. Cut this out and do something different. You know, I don't like any of these games. Scott, find something else to do. I mean, yeah, it looks nice. I mean, Miguel Coimbra does the art, so it's going to look nice. But Gamelin Games, do you do anything else but the Tiny Epic games? I don't think you do. I think you are just Tiny Epic, aren't you? Oh, no, you do the Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea. They're all right. I mean, that's an all right game. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Ah, that's the... Oh, Land, Air, and Sea. That's that big game. Oh, God, yeah, I haven't even played that one. I don't know if that's any good, but... yeah, not a lot on their repertoire, really. I mean, this is not really a publisher I pay a lot of attention to, but I'm sorry, they're just not fun. I just do not like the Tiny Epic games, and this is no exception. At first value, I'd give it a 3 out of 10. I just think it's bad. You know, I don't get its appeal. I don't get who's meant to like this game. You know, if you just want a dice rolling luck fest, play Zombie Dice or Can't Stop, or pretty much any other dice game, like, or play King of Tokyo if you want a luck fest, the dice rolly thing. But I don't get why you would play this game. Nothing is offered here that is beaten by any other basic push your luck dice rolling mechanic. So, yeah, waste of time. Waste of time. Anything else I can talk about in this episode? I think it probably will be a shorter episode, but there's not really much in the way of topics to discuss. But maybe I can talk a little bit about my collection and what I'm doing with it, because 2 things I have noticed in my recent gaming. Firstly, my solo gaming desire has dropped a bit. I do feel like I want to play games with people more often, and certainly the fact that I am more interested in the amount of interaction a game has, I think it's got something to do with that, with some of these modern Euros that are getting so much praise and hype, and yet they turn out to be multiplayer solitaire borefests. But I think with the solo games, I mean, like when I played Imperium, and Imperium's not a short game, and you got to spend ages relearning the rules, all the bloody terminology, and setting the game up. It's a bit of a minefield to play solo. So that one is always a bit of a cusp of, I like its mechanics, I like its variety, but man, does it deserve to be in a collection? But I don't really play these like, you know, I've got Laserders here, I've got Mind Clash games and stuff, but I don't go around playing them solo. They may have good solo modes in them, but I ain't got the time to set them up, and ignoring the recovery period, of course. But I don't normally have the time to set them up and do stuff with them, and mess around with a huge 3-hour Euro game, try to set it all up by myself and then playing it. It doesn't feel worth it. Even like stuff like Marvel Champions and Arkham Horror LCG, they take a bit of setup time, they need deck customization, and I kind of just want solo games to be a good, quick affair. That's why I like Cascadia as a solo game. That's why Earth is a good solo game. It's why it's not the best solo mod ever, but the mod that you use with Forest Shuffle, again, not a bad solo mode. For Northwood, fantastic, quick solo trick-taking game. You know, there are games like that which work great solo, and they're the ones that I'm playing. Something that you can get to the table fast, does not take long for you to set up by yourself. I mean, people like to play Voidfall solo. I'm sorry, that game takes about 4 freaking hours just to get out of the box, set up on a table, relearn all its freaking rules, and then you've got to play it on top of that. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's not the sort of game I want to play solo. You know, but I look over there, let's see, any other solo games? Oh, I could play Caverna solo. Why would you get out Caverna solo? Fields of Arle is one of those exceptions to the rule. That one does take a fair bit to set up in that, but that one, I don't know, that one gives me such joy solo. But even then, I haven't done that one in ages. Feast of Odin, the only reason I'd play Feast of Odin is solo, frankly. And no, I haven't even tried Danes. I'll worry about it when it comes out. I mean, it's basic. I've seen it on the table. They had it at Manicon. Paul Grogan was showing it off. And the first thing I thought of is, this is literally just Feast of Odin with a few extra tweaks. That's all Danes looks like. The premise is the same. The whole, it's Tetris shapes and polyomino pieces is the same. It just looks like Feast of Odin with tweaks. So does Feast of Odin now become redundant as a result, or is Danes not worth it? I don't know. But I think people should be calming down the hype for it, because it really doesn't look like that revolutionary a new game. Wild Venture, not a bad solo game. Doesn't take too long to set up and deal with. Cascadia, always a good one. Always a good one. Earth, as I mentioned, always a good one. Gemini, I don't tend to play that one solo, but it's there. Wingspan solo can work. Wondrous Creatures solo. A reasonable amount of setup, a reasonable amount of time. That's not too bad. That's kind of on the cusp. But yeah, I am definitely thinking, like, the quicker the solo mode, the better. So I feel like my solo gaming has gone to that point where I just want to get it on the table nice and quick. I am a picky on the length, I must admit. Time is precious. I can't afford to spend 4 hours playing a solo game. I mean, I played a Hollow Knight for ages. I mean, what did I play? I think I racked up 28 hours on Hollow Knight before I completed it, and that was 80% completion. And I have no interest in going through and doing it to 100%. I don't care what special ending there is or whatever. It's like, by that point, I was done. I'm not going to be messing around trying to find little bits here and there. Oh, I found a little collectible here. Oh, another relic I'm never going to use or something. It's like, I have done the core of the game. I'm done. And especially as to complete it 100% would also mean going back into Deep Nest and completing the optional boss in there. And the optional boss in there is Spider Nightmare Fuel. So no, not going to happen. But that was 28 hours, right? 28 hours well spent, well, sort of well spent, of time. And honestly, I reckon a good chunk of that time was just trying to get through Deep Nest, because it took me forever. Because I had to mod the game for Arachnophobia mode. There isn't an Arachnophobia mode officially for the game, but I had to downgrade the game patch-wise to a previous patch, install a mod launcher, and use a mod that took out the spiders that crawled across the screen. There was a mod for that. Yeah. You can't turn off the spider enemies in the game. You're going to have to deal with those. But yeah, you can at least turn that bit off. Stupid developers. Anyway, a sidetrack. Yeah, so yeah, I just think it's getting to that point where I want games to take a bit less time now. But also, what am I doing with the collection? I am trying to downsize it a bit. I mean, somebody yesterday has got like 700 games in his collection. I'm just like, why? There was a point in time where I had about 200, maybe 250 tops, but I reckon it was closer to 200. And that's just, even that was insane. Like, you just don't get them played. I mean, even I live alone, I don't have kids and that, and I don't get to play the games constantly at 200 or plus. So why would you own 700? Unless you are a collector. But there's no way you own 700 games and get them played and know how to play them all. It's just not realistic. So I am downsizing a bit. And what I'm hoping to get to is a point where I've got 4 of those, these Calyx shelves. They've got these baskets that you can put in there and they hold stuff. I used to have 4 of them and they were slotting in the slots, right? They're now in a corner of the room, stacked on top of each other because they can't fit on the shelves because of games. I'm hoping to get to a point where I can put those back in the slots now. That's going to involve getting rid of a decent amount of games. But when I go to bring and buys, I am selling, not buying. So I am definitely looking at my games and going, which ones could I play from other people? Which ones are the ones I'm playing and love? And which ones are the ones I'm not desperate to play? So yeah, I'm definitely whittling my collection down a little bit to try and concentrate on games that I'm going to play. And also, when you got stuff like Marvel Champions, Deep Rock Galactic, and certain other games where the expansions come out and they take up more and more space, other games have to go away. I mean, Deep Rock Galactic takes up 2 whole squares now downstairs with the new expansions. But I love the Deep Rock Galactic game. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to play it. So that deserves to stay. Other games need to leave. And certainly I can think of a few. I mean, I think Feast of Odin needs to go. I think definitely in the next Bring and Buy, that's going. One way or the other. Because it just doesn't get played. I don't want to play it multiplayer. I don't often play it solo. And I'd rather play Fields of All. So honestly, Feast of Odin has no business on my shelf. And if Danes does turn out to be a solid re-implementation of the game, then, well, I would just get Danes. So, yeah, Feast of Odin. I think Shake, Battle and Roll is the first convention coming up. So, yeah, we'll be seeing Feast of Odin on Bring and Buy there. So if you want a copy, there you go. Assuming I don't sell it in advance, actually, I might stick it on Facebook, but we'll see. But yeah, so I think that's kind of what my gaming taste is sort of developing at the moment. It's solo mode, I'm more into quick solo modes. Not 3-hour Euros that happen to have a good solo mode. I mean, Revenant does have a pretty good solo mode. And Revenant is likely to be one that I would play that could be one of the exceptions to the rule where I'm like, if I'm going to play a heavy game, I'm happy to play Revenant as a solo. But again, how often that's going to be, and how often am I going to get Revenant to the table as a solo game? Where is... Oh yeah, Revenant's right there. I was going to say, where my finger is there. Yeah, so there's Revenant. I thought that was, for some reason I thought that was Emberheart, but Emberheart's right above it, so yeah. But yeah, so it's just one of those things. I think that's the way my tastes are going. Certainly, that's the way my collection's going, so there could be more stuff on the brim by soon. And yeah, it's not to say I won't buy more games or review games, find belters, and put them on the shelf, but we're definitely going to have to try and one in, one out at most, and the more I can sell, the better. So it would be good. Get those baskets off the corner of the room and just condense the collection down. I would be more happy if the collection only had 100 games and I was playing those 100 games. I'd be perfectly set. I don't know how many games I've got in the collection at the moment. I would have to go around and physically count, which would take me a while, but I'd probably reckon it's somewhere between 150 to 200. It's multiple Calyx shells, but these are big games. So my impression is that it's about 150 to 200. But, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll count at some stage, but certainly not now. But yeah, I think with my throat and that, I think I'm going to leave it there. You know, I don't want to exert myself too much, but just to say, thanks for your support. Thanks for your get well wishes. You know, thanks for keeping me, morale up, whilst I was recovering. Thanks for your nice comments. Really appreciate it. I will try to get some videos done. I'll try to get back into the swing of it. But hopefully this podcast will just give you an insight as to what I've been doing, what I've done the last couple of weeks, what the whole surgery thing was about, because it pretty much just turned up on social media and probably caught a bunch of you unawares. But this is just me talking about it. So thanks to you. Thanks to all the staff at the QA Hospital Portsmouth who looked after me. Yes, you're underfunded. Yes, the waiting times are colossal, but I can't fault the staff. The staff there are very nice, very helpful, and, I had very nice people, very nice nurses looking after me. Army nurses, in fact. One was an Army nurse, one was an RAF nurse. They get military nurses who are training up before they go overseas and stuff. They train up in actual hospitals, which is quite a cool idea because they get the training and the hospitals get the staff they need. So I think it's a pretty sweet idea. But yeah, there were lovely people that looked after me. So thanks again to them. Thanks for everyone who wished me well. And yeah, I'll just keep recovering and trying to take it semi-easily. The stress of doing the videos and stuff is a thing. We'll see how long I can keep going with that. But the main thing is to just take a break from the gym and try not to go mentally insane while I can't go to the gym. So there is that problem. But back to work tomorrow, so I guess we'll see if that's a way to keep my mind occupied. But thanks everybody, I will be seeing you soon. Thanks for wishing me well, and I'll catch you as soon as I can. So take care, bye for now.